Guys and girls, welcome back to the channel. I'm back at my usual place, that being Into Moto in Warrington, and today I am taking out a bike that, I've wanted to go one of these for a while. So I walked in and they didn't have one, they had two of them. So you wait, it's like buses, you wait a while and two come along. Let's have a look at today's offering. So what we've got today, there's three bikes at the front here. Now I think from the front they're all very similar looking. This one stands out a little bit because of the big screen, but what we're really looking at today is the two older bikes. This bike and this bike, these are both Suzuki Marauder 125s. The bike in the middle is the Keeway Superlight. Now, if you know Keeway as a brand, you'd know that the Superlight is their best selling bike by far. It just is a great value bike. And the reason I brought this out, when the review really is going to be on the Suzuki Marauder, but I wanted a bike to come out that is comparable to these two. And I say comparable because Into Moto have brought these two used Suzuki Marauders and they've got them up for sale for £1,899, which happens to be exactly the same price as the Keeway Superlight. So I wanted to have a look around both. I'm going to show you the specs of both. We're going to compare horsepower figures, weight figures. We're going to just go through the whole shebang, and then I want you guys to tell me in the comments, what would you go for? Would you go for a much older Japanese bike or a Chinese bike? It's that question, it keeps rearing it, well, it keeps lifting its head up, doesn't it, for another go. But I do think these now are getting a lot closer to the Japanese bikes, a lot closer than they ever have been before. But let me know in the comments. Let's crack on. I've wheeled this bike out first to have a look at it. Now, these two Suzuki Marauders are very, very similar. However, there is a couple of years between them. So this bike is a 2009 and the other bike is a 2006. So exactly the same bike, but there's a couple of years between them. But looking at the standard, the quality of them, the appearance, they're both very similar. So I'll just go around one. We'll go through the specs of this bike first, and I'll show you the Keeway Superlight, and we'll go over the specs of that as well and just compare the two. So it does have the classic cruiser look. You can see this is a chain drive. There is quite a few little chrome bits on there, and it's a 2009 bike, so this bike is now 16 years old. So yes, it does have age related marks. You can see it on the center of the wheel. You can see it on the shocks. You know, it's not a pristine bike, but I don't think you'd expect it to be at this age. But it's not a bad looking bike considering its age. I think it has carried its age very nicely. The old school indicators. All about clear lenses and tiny lights now. I do prefer the older looking exhaust to the newer bikes. And looking at the dial on this, for me this is what a cruiser should have to fit in with the old school looks. It's got an old school dial. Again, it's an age thing. You can't see anything on here as to what these buttons relate to. This is the horn, there's your indicators, and there's your high and low beam. That's all there is on the left hand side. Very basic, but I think with this type of bike, that's what you want. Right hand side, engine start, engine cut off. Again, very basic, but you don't need any more. The seat is something I do particularly like. It's quite a nice wide seat. It's a very low seat. I'll talk about that very shortly. It just looks well made. Now I know a lot of people are going to say, well, that's because it's Japanese, it's going to be well made and they're built to last and everything else, and I get all that, but it just feels like it's got age to it, but it just feels, I'm going to say, premium. I think the reason I'm a big fan of cruisers in general is I'm only a little guy. I'm 5'8" with a 29-inch inseam, so I'm only short. So the seat height on this is 685 millimeters. So even with my short legs, I've got a proper bend in the knee and there's no issue. So if you're a shorter rider, these are the bikes that they're just perfect for you. I mean, I've always found them to be amazing for comfort as well. Now, looking at the pegs, they have got forward controls. Now, I know forward controls aren't for everyone, but for me, I love them. I find them as the most comfortable position to ride. Certainly keep your back up straight, so you're not going to get that ache that you can get in your back if you're on a sports bike or anything where you bent over. The bars are wide, but they're angled towards you, so again, it just helps with that back up straight position. Hello. I'm working with amateurs here. I'm working with amateurs. Anyway, so the seating position, the riding position, yeah, it's a bit of me. I like my cruisers. Let me know what you think. I know not everybody is a cruiser fan, and I understand that. We all like what we like, but I like. One of the positives for this bike, because physically in appearance it looks like quite a big bike, especially for a 125cc, but the weight on this is only 137 kilograms, so it's unbelievably light. And if I give you a comparison, the Yamaha M-Max that I took out recently, the scooter from Yamaha, which I was saying was quite a light bike, it's about the same weight as this, give or take a kilogram. So it means it's really easy to walk around, little to no effort with this bike moving it. So yeah, a good one if you're looking at downsizing. Engine wise on this, I said 125cc, it's actually a 124cc bike. It delivers 12 horsepower and that is 8.7 kilowatts. So yeah, it's not up there with the maximum that you can have out of a 125, but a lot of cruisers aren't. Doesn't matter who makes them, a lot of them are kind of between 10 and 13. It's what you're going to get. Let's carry on. It is a 6-speed bike. The fuel tank is 14 litres, but as we all know, 125's very fuel efficient, so 14 litres, you should get quite a few miles out of that. And if you have one of these, if you've had one of these, let me know how many miles you're getting out of a full tank. Miles on this, 18,716. Brakes on this, there is a single disc 2-piston caliper at the front, and there's a drum brake at the rear. Just going to wheel this one back into place. Now I'm going to wheel out the Keeway so we can look at the comparison between both bikes. Again, this is the bike I'm going to ride. I'm not going to ride the Keeway. I just want to show that there are alternatives. You don't have to have a Keeway. You don't have to have a Suzuki Marauder 125, but there are options. You can have an older bike, you can have a new bike, similar sort of price. In fact, in this case, identical, £1,899. So this is the Keeway Superlight. We'll go around very similar fashion. I just want to point out really a couple of the differences between the bikes. So some are very similar, very closely matched, and then some things, yeah, there's no comparison. Let's start off with the walk round around the Keeway. Now you'll notice straight away this bike is gonna be cleaner. There's a lot more chrome on this. There is shiny, and it just pops a little bit more. Now I accept, will the Keeway look as good as the Suzuki when the Keeway's 16 years old? Well, that's a debate for another time. What I will say, and I say to everybody, is if you're going to buy a bike like this, which has been built to a price, and it has, and I'm not going to try and defend that, but it's been built to a price, and if you don't look after it, it will corrode probably faster than what the Suzuki has done. But if you do look after it, you will keep it in a much nicer overall condition. You will. There's no arguments about that from me. If you look after a bike, it will. Service with a smile. I love it. I'm getting coffees brought to me now. Thank. You're looking very tidy, by the way. Very tight. Thank you very much. Yeah, they just keep having digs because I've had my hair cut and trimmed my beard. That's a story for another time. Anyway, let's carry on. Exhaust on this, yeah, I don't mind a blacked out exhaust. I actually prefer that. I think it's better for me personally, because I'm not a massive polisher. I'm not one that usually goes for all the bling. However, yeah, I do think I prefer the older looking style of the Suzuki when it comes to the exhaust. The Suzuki has just got pegs. This has got foot plates. I just think it looks nicer. The side bags on this, they do come as standard. Keeway have, I mean, I don't want to say they've copied, but they do like to style a bike very similar to, I'm going to say, Harley Davidson, Indian, that kind of bike. That's definitely the inspiration for this one. And that's why, even for a modern bike, it's got the old school indicators and rear light on. But it just suits the bike for me. Your fuel gauge is on the tank. Again, something you get with a Harley. So the fuel tank on this is 15 litres, so it carries a litre more than the Suzuki. And if you've got one, let me know what sort of miles you're getting out of a full tank. I just want to point out, it's 4 years old. It isn't a brand new bike. So there will be an odd mark on this bike like there is on the other. But what I'm impressed with this is it's 4 years old. And as there will always be someone in the comments that say, buy Japanese, they'll last forever. Chinese bikes rust, they fall apart after a day of having them. Standard comments. But this is 4 years old, so when we go around this, I'll point out any signs of age or corrosion so you can see. But 4 years old, and for me, it looks like a brand new bike. It's on a 21 plate, 2021, so 4 years old. But the way they style these bikes, they style them to make them look older. They do, and you can see that with the dials. The dials themselves are very old school looking. Now this bike has done 1,723 miles, so next to nothing really. It's a lot of bike for the money, a hell of a lot of bike for the money. The seat height on this is noticeably taller, but not by much. It's just a little over 700 millimeters, so I've still got a bend in the knee. I'm still very low to the ground, and it still suits me as a shorter rider. Controls, similar to the Suzuki. They are forward controls. I just like that you've got the foot plate to put your foot on. It just feels more comfortable. The bars on this feel wider, but unlike the Suzuki where it's angled towards you, this one feels a little bit further away. Still back up straight, but I do feel like I'm more stretched out with my arms. So I don't know whether the Suzuki feels a bit more comfortable as far as my back and arms go, because I'm not quite as stretched as what I am on this one. But the seat feels lovely, just feels very similar actually, very plush, nice wide seat, very comfortable. You can see there are a couple of age related marks on this, but absolutely nothing really of concern, just what you would get with a bike that's a few years old. The wheels actually look pristine. Brakes wise on this, you do have a single disc 2-piston caliper on the front, and there is a single disc single piston caliper on the rear. So that is different to the Suzuki, where the Suzuki's got a rear drum brake. This is a newer bike, so yeah, it's got a better rear brake. Another 125cc bike, so very similar as far as the engine goes. They are both air cooled. This, however, has got less horsepower. Where the Suzuki had 12 horsepower, this only has 10.6 horsepower. Now, I've taken one of these out before. I've taken the Superlight on my 0 to 60 performance test, so I'll put a link in the video for that if you're interested in what the performance is like on these. But I would say, and I said it on that video, that the performance on these bikes is kind of what you want out of a cruiser. It's not the fastest bike in the world by any stretch, but it makes up for it in comfort and style, I think. I do like these bikes. I'm a big fan. This bike does feel bigger than the Suzuki Marauder. It does. It feels a little bit chunkier. The tank feels a little bit bigger. Just the stance of this bike feels bigger. And that is the surprising thing, because where the Suzuki was weighing in at 137 kilograms, this is a few kilograms lighter, 134. So again, it's another bike that is unbelievably easy to push around. 134 kilograms. The scooter's heavier than these bikes, but if you look at them, they're massive. They just don't look like 125s. I've said it from the very first day of putting my eyes on these bikes. They look considerably bigger than 125s. Now, I've got my coffee in hand now. I want to drink it before it goes cold. I know, very unprofessional, but I like coffee. What can I say? And if you want to help the channel, I'll put a link in the description as well. You can treat me to a coffee if you want, but there's no pressure. YouTube is the beauty of YouTube, isn't it? It's free of charge to watch. It's free of charge to subscribe as well. So if you're new to the channel, if you like this kind of review, please do join the party. Hit subscribe and then you can see my old stuff, my new stuff. Yeah. Anyway, moving past that, the only thing left for me to do is to take one of the Suzukis out for a ride. Now, said there are two of them. They are pretty much identical in spec. They are the same price. They are pretty much identical when you look at, but the only difference is the older bike has actually got less miles on. So the older bike's only got 6,500 miles on. So that really is why there's well, the prices are the same. The newer bike, 3 years newer, couple of thousand extra miles. This one, 6.5. So, yeah, but very similar. So I'm not going to do another walk around of that because the specs are exactly the same. What I am going to do is now take one of the Suzukis out for a ride, or I will after I finish my coffee. I'm going to take it on a performance test, and the only reason I want to do that is because I've done it on the Keeway. And the Keeway, whilst I love riding the bike and I love the comfort, I love the style, I just love the sheer presence of it, the size, everything, it was a bit of a disappointment when it come to performance. It struggled and didn't get to 60 mile an hour in my usual 0 to 60 test. It was just a little bit short. I want to see if the Suzuki can do it. Is the older bike more punchy? Is the older bike faster? Has it got a bit more about it for the ride? Love the Keeway. Let's see what the Suzuki's like. Let me finish this, grab me stuff, and then we'll go for a ride. Let's start this bad boy up. Now bear in mind, it's an old bike this, so yes, it's not going to sound and start like a new bike will. They do need warming up a little bit. Again, this is, for me, it's the pros and cons, isn't it, of new bike versus old bike. Old bike, you're gonna get this. New bike, not so much. But anyway, I am looking forward to riding it. The exhaust, yeah, I thought it was gonna sound a little bit meatier than what it does. Can't beat a low seat height for a short arse like myself. Out of the two, this is the older one. So this bike is 19 years old. It rides quite nicely. Yeah, it's not perfect. There's a little bit of vibration through the foot pegs. I'm getting a little bit of vibration through the hands, not much. If you went into Moto and you saw this bike next to a Keeway, I think instantly you would say that Keeway is better, because this looks older and it's a little bit shabbier around the edges. You know, you can see a lot more wear and tear on this. I should expect, again, I'm not criticising it, it's a working 20-year-old or nearly 20-year-old motorcycle, so you can't criticise it too much. But what I'm saying is, if you were none the wiser as far as brands go and you just took them both on their own merits, I think you would look at the Keeway and just go, that is better. I think you would. Japanese bikes, they are made to a completely different price point compared to the Chinese bikes, so they should last longer, because they cost more to make, they cost more to buy. But I do think that the gap between them is getting shorter and shorter. I do think that. The Keeway struggled and didn't get to 60 mile an hour. I think off memory it might have got to about 58 miles an hour or something like that. This 60 mile an hour is over there. I think if it gets to 60 mile an hour, it's a bonus, but we'll see. It's a 20-year-old bike with 12 horsepower. And yeah, you can tell it's 20 years old. It's a good 20 years old, but you can tell it's got some age to it. Certainly with the view I've got here. Let's go. Now, from what I've been told, this bike has had a new carb put on it, so I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I don't know. I mean, what we're doing now, 45 miles an hour. I'm on full throttle. I'm in top gear. 45 miles an hour appears to be all I've got, but we've got a slight downhill coming, so I'm hoping that gives us a little bit of a push to get a few more miles an hour out of it. And something I'm going to point out as well, just while this bike is slowly picking speed up, these bikes haven't been into Moto very long, so they haven't had the full mechanical go over. They've had the technicians go over the bikes and just make sure that they're safe for me to take out. But yeah, we have got, I'm going to have to ease off. We're backing a 30. Okay, now that got to 50 miles an hour. Now the Keeway got to 58, and I thought the Keeway didn't perform particularly well. It's gone through the gears well enough. Anybody who's looking for a 125 cruiser in particular, a 20-year-old Suzuki Marauder, you're not really looking for a sports bike, are you? You're looking for something with a little bit of style. Maybe something like this, you could do a bit of customizing. I know that's a big thing on the cruiser scene. I've had one myself, and you do tend to make them your own, whether it be paint jobs or adding like some extras to it maybe. I know people do it. I think this would be a good bike to do that kind of thing too, because it does have a couple of, as I've pointed out, this bit here does look a bit old, and it would probably look amazing with a little bit of love and attention. But I do like the older bikes where you can kind of buy one, use it for a couple of years, and then pretty much sell it for what you bought it for. And that certainly doesn't happen with a brand new bike. As I said on my last video, you lose the VAT as soon as you ride them out the shop, so 20% is gone straight away, and then it just slowly trickles more money out. The longer you own it, the more miles you do on it. That's just life. And then it goes all the way down to the bottom, and at that point they kind of level off, and then maybe they might trickle up, or they kind of just level off and stay around there. Well, I think this is at that level now where it's just about leveled off. So yeah, I think there is potential for you to ride it for a year or so, and it wouldn't surprise me if you could sell it for pretty much what you bought it for. Now, I'm not Mystic Meg, I'm not a psychic, or probably more a psycho than a psychic, but you can never say, you know, what's going to go up and what's going to go, well, in fact no, everything pretty much goes down, but you can never say what's going to go up. Sometimes it's just, yeah, luck of the draw when you buy a bike. But when you get a 20-year-old bike, I'd like to think it's lost all the money it's going to lose. You just have to look after it and make sure it doesn't lose more. You might be lucky. But I mean, I know I've waffled on a lot about this bike, but the riding experience is actually quite pleasant. It's not a fast bike by any stretch. You've seen the 0 to 60. It was not fast in the slightest, but the bike is comfortable. It goes through the gears well. It reached 50 mile an hour. It's just how I see cruisers for me. It's what cruisers are. They are a slow and kind of comfortable way to mill about. All of the ones I've tried, they're all kind of, they're all around the 60 mile an hour mark, and that's the brand new ones. Some struggle with any sort of speed, and this is one of those bikes. It's not the fastest bike in the world, so you've got to be prepared for that. If you're looking at getting a 20-year-old Suzuki Marauder, if you're looking at getting a 20-year-old bike, and it's a cruiser, yeah, 50, 55, I should imagine is going to be your lot. You want it to look good, you want it to be comfortable, you want to just kind of bimble about at slow speed, and this is perfect for it. I would certainly do something to kind of spruce it up a little bit if it was mine, but if you're after a 125, would you call it a classic, nearly 20 years old? Yeah, I'm going to say it's got some age to it. So yeah, if you're looking for a 20-year-old bike that's a bit of a classic, could be a future classic, then yeah, they are available at Moto for £1,899, and yeah, you would have a blast on it. You would. It's a nice, fun, comfortable bike to ride, just not particularly quick. That's going to do me. You can see There's a lot of movement again to Moto because it's nearly 5 o'clock and they close shortly, so they're in the process of shuffling all the bikes around inside. So I'm going to give the keys back to this one. I've enjoyed it. It's going to do me. I'll put a link in the description for Moto. Have a look online and I will catch you guys on the next one. Laters.